everyone. You have joined us right here as we are talking to someone who isn't just a candidate for the Emperor of Universe 7, but also somebody who took the most efficient donut maker down in history. Pull up a chair and enjoy yourself right here, up on the lookout. Up on the Lookout is a Dragonball podcast for things with a more laid-back approach. We are not here to bombard you with facts left, right, and center. No, we are here to slowly trickle them into you and then get you all relaxed with some casual vibes. I am MasakoX, and joining me is my trusty assistant Haverok.
Hello, I'm the comedic sidekick.
And we are also joined by our guest for today. They are in countless numbers of recent series, but most notably voicing one of our mascot characters on the channel, where the phrase "Bora Bora" is common, as well as voicing Beastar's most eager mongoose. It doesn't quite sound the same as eager beaver, does it? It can only be Daman Mills. Hello, Daman.
Hello, how's it going, guys? Thank you for having me up on the lookout.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much. It's been very nice since Dende was just allowing us to have our own little crawl space here. Big pleasure to have you here to join us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and talk about all the fun things, Dragon Ball and otherwise.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes, definitely. So if you are enjoying the podcast so far, as well as the previous episodes, if you haven't had a chance to listen to them, you can check them out on your podcasting platform of choice. You can also become a caretaker of the Lookout if you wish to help contribute towards the server cost. You can go to masako.cc/lookout for more information. And with that, let's get started. Daman, you are a chum that I have not seen for a very long time. I think the last time I actually got to hang out with you guys is while I was over down in Texas.
Yes, I think you were at Sound Cadence. Yeah, you had popped in and I was like, oh, hello.
The last thing we were doing, I think I was recording for something. I think actually it was episode 60. It was episode 60 of DBZA. Yeah, so on that day I was with the TFS guys. And I think I was done for a little bit because we were trying to record the Super Saiyan 2 scream. And it was clearly that we were not going to make it work because I was just getting all worked up and stuff like that. It was really, really hard to do. But while we were kind of cooling down, figuring out what we were going to do coming in tomorrow, I remember, I think you were like around the corner and you were, oh, hey. And I think Howard was there as well.
Yeah.
Who's also, one of the, higher ups at Sound Cadence. I think we were just chilling out in like one of the green rooms and we were just playing fighters.
Yeah, I think we played a couple rounds. Yeah.
Yeah. No, because I remember it was like all the hotness, because I think it only came out like 6 months previously.
I think so, yeah.
Guys, I hope you represented your characters. Like, come on.
Yeah, I am a Frieza main, absolutely.
Actually, since then, have you actually dabbled in trying out Cooler at all?
Yes, Cooler, I do play a fair bit. I figured I should keep it in the family. But Cooler is really fun. Zamasu is really fun. I've tried my hands with Janemba as well. I like the villains. I don't know. I'm really partial. Who else have I tried out? I don't know. I haven't played in a little bit, and usually when I have played, like I play with like Howard a lot, and he always kicks my butt. Howard Wang, everybody. He's very exceptionally good at the game, and I'm trash.
Oh, well, you say that because I remember we had a fighters tournament at the TFS studio, and it was being streamed, and I somehow was able to beat Lanny, but sometimes I would get I'm a button masher. I'm like a proper button masher. I'm not that great with fighting games. I had a brother who's 5.5 years older than me playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That was not fun. So every time I just accidentally press the PS button, so everyone would be like, dude, no, don't do that. And it was like we were doing a Goku versus Vegeta playing Tekken 7. I found out later, I thought I was actually not too bad at it, but I was finding out that Nick was going really, really easy on me. I was going like, you're not fighting. I'm giving you these opportunities, just do it. And I wasn't doing it. Mind you, Goku's pretty clueless when it comes to these things. So, hey, I was method acting without even knowing it.
It's like, what do I do? What does this button do? I don't understand. That's usually what at first, because I am a Smash Brothers player, like for when it comes to fighting games, but that doesn't require the level of combo training that something like Dragon Ball FighterZ does. So I was just like, what does quarter circle mean? I don't understand. So it took a minute for me to get that learning curve in there.
Whenever they do those training things, you have to do 10 certain attacks. I could do the first 6 okay, but when you get to number 7, it just suddenly gets like, okay, try that now. And I'm like,
I'm like, what?
No, that's not going to happen unless I put in half an hour's worth of time there. But yeah, what kind of projects have you been in lately? Give people in just like that. Obviously, things that you can talk about. I mean, I know that well because I've done a couple of things myself. And how have things been lately?
Oh, goodness. It's been a complete transformation with workload because, with the global pandemic, we are not recording in studio for anything for the most part. And we've all had to kind of invest in home equipment to keep up that level of recording. I'm so sorry. My cat is jumping on equipment outside of the booth. Yeah. No, he's just like, there's a bunch of expensive equipment outside of my booth. And I'm just like, stop it.
Yeah, you are talking to two people with cats, so we understand completely.
You can like briefly talk about the cat because it's podcast content, you know?
Yeah, he's in here with me now. He's purring.
Oh, it's okay. What's their name?
His name is Riku, because Kingdom Hearts is great. And he's gray. So it's just like, okay, but he's the neediest boy you'll ever meet. He's just like, if you are not giving me attention, I'm going to lose it.
Oh, no, don't worry. I know what you mean. I've got a cat, Smokey is his name. And
so cute.
I swear he's got some Russian blue in him. He's got that bluish metal, that blue steel. He can sometimes be very territorial, but he's so dopey sometimes. Like, we were so worried because we when we got a puppy last week, we got some pet gates and they've got like a cat flap at the bottom. So that means the cat can go through, the dog can't. Been practicing for the last couple of months and he just stands there for the longest time and go like, yep, he's never seen a cat flap before, that's for sure.
He's just like, what is this portal?
And he's like 7, so he's not exactly young. He's 7 years old, so he's like middle-aged. One day before we got the puppy, he suddenly got it. So I'm thinking, oh, now you get it.
Maybe he didn't felt like it, you know? It is a very cat thing to do.
No, that is very true, because if we are near the gate, he will just sit there and go like, you expect me to do that now? You're right there. You're right there. You can reach it.
Human, open it for me. Okay, so sharing cat love. My cat's name is Nessie. She's 5 years old, and she was brought to our home because after unfortunate death of our previous cat, our doggo was so sad that needed some companionship. And our previous cat was a Maine Coon. She sadly, died due to the kidney failure. Basically, what we did, like we had that cat basket that we used to transport her in, and we brought this tiny little kitty, that you can get on your palm out of pet shelter to home. And it was love at first sight. Of course, my doggo is a little bit of a jerk, and she's like she is the dominating pet because it's a dachshund. It's a wiener dog, so she's dominating over the cat. I've never seen the cat, that has no aggression, never hisses. She's like, okay, you want to move me? Okay, I guess. She's very passive. She's super passive, very friendly especially towards me, but very passive.
With this type of podcast, you never know where it's going to go. I bet you did not expect to be in this interview with one of the people who voices Freeza to be talking about cats.
I mean, come on, Frieza is a cat person. Come on, I see Frieza as a cat person.
Oh, absolutely. I do love a good feline.
It reminds me of the old ocean dub. Good job, Captain Ginyu. If you were a dog, I would scratch your belly.
It's so funny. It's wild. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I got interrupted by my cat before I was talking about everything.
No. It's absolutely fine because it's got something to do with sound cadence. Because I believe that both of us, we were in Hells together.
Yes. I did some Walla for that movie, but it was really fun. It was crazy Walla too.
Oh yeah, no, because I was playing the Dawn Mother in that, and basically I was asked to bring in the Dawn Mother mainly to be a joke to Kaiser, as in like, oh hey, the Dawn Mother's voiced by Masako Nozawa. Oh, Masako could do it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But it was very fun. It's a very much honor to be actually sharing a role with her. Never expected that. It was a real shame because it was like a madhouse project, and it just got overlooked at the time. So it's good that it finally got some recognition eventually.
Oh, no, exactly. I'm really glad. Yeah, so we have transitioned to home recording now. And yeah, so we've like everything, like including anime and everything, which is also exceedingly difficult to do remotely. Because there's so much tech involved with ADR dubbing that it's not as easy. Like video games, animation, anything like that is much easier to do remotely. But if you don't have like, gosh, like because you have to see the video over the internet to match to picture. So it's like you have to do it either through Skype and have Source Connect and do all these different programs.
It's actually really curious because it's been really good to see how certain careers and certain businesses actually really adapt themselves, because I've known a lot of people who suddenly been able to work from home, and it's actually made loads of companies actually rethink their business models. So when did you get like your first indication for a project to actually start the process into actually doing all your recording from home?
Yeah, so it's so funny because I actually got really sick at the start of the pandemic, right the day before it was declared a pandemic. I was like in session and I went home and I got super sick, and I think it was a semblance of COVID because I tested negative on flu and strep and had all these symptoms, but I couldn't get tested. So that was like the first of like, oh, okay, I have to stay home now for like weeks. But I recovered. And ever since then, I had to just completely record and shift everything at home. I started doing, I did, I think, a couple game things at home first. Doing anime took a while to start up again. Because everybody kind of had to figure out like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And Funimation like went on a hiatus for like a couple months, I think. So it's been a lot of shifting with that. So it was like a lot of studios kind of did surveys of like, I was like, what kind of equipment do you have? Like, what are you hooked up with? Thankfully, I had like some good equipment, but I did have to make a lot of upgrades at the time. Originally, I was in my closet recording because that's all I had at the time. So I had just a Neumann microphone and a preamp that I had to upgrade to a better one on that, and upgrade my recording software and upgrade and have a monitor in my closet so I could view material. And recently we upgraded to a Studio Bricks booth. So now I can actually record in a enclosed space with better equipment. So it's all good now. But it was a task. So for anime, we've just Funimation has been very good. They've sent actors that do not have equipment the recording kits, as it were, to hook them up so they are able to continue working and doing simuldubs at this time. So, and then the rest of us that have equipment are just using this. The process is super slowed down. I know a lot of people were wondering like why shows are taking longer now to come out. It's so much more work to do because the audio engineers are having to adapt to a bunch of different sound spaces and try to make that sound like it's coming from one place. So there's a lot of that, and then just working, via internet. If everybody had the same setup, like I do, I think it would be a lot easier. But I think because everybody's on different stuff, that is kind of slowing it down. Thankfully, I think we're getting it like more streamlined now. Like everybody's kind of adapting and getting the hang of it in all regards for recording. So it's going well, I think.
A lot of people were really concerned that the internet would be crumbling to its knees, basically, because of so many people working from home. But it's actually been surprisingly rigid and stable.
Yeah, it's been fine for the most part.
Yeah, I've had a few like hiccups every now and again, but my wife is a key worker. She's a teacher. So sometimes she'd have to go in. But fortunately, she's been able to work from home pretty much for most of it. But it just shows really that about what is totally possible. And potentially it could mean that so long as you've got the right software and there's like the guidelines for how the procedures work, you could in theory like record anywhere. it's very important to make sure the equipment is as consistent as possible, because back in the day with all these different other recording software and the fact there are a lot of USB mics which would be like $20 down from Best Buy. Oh, okay, that's
Yeah, I remember that. Like back in the day when I started voice acting, I had like a USB headset or something like that, and it was just like, I was like, I know what I'm doing. Not.
I actually auctioned off my first ever mic that I did stuff for charity, and it was like $65. I'm like, really? Wow, okay. It's actually been a really interesting sight to see some of the voice actors that I follow on like Instagram, Twitter, and stuff like that actually being quite excited to see that fact that they can do this from home. It looks really tricky from all the screenshots that I've seen, like, you know, of their setup, like all these different windows they got to make work. But I'm pretty sure that Funimation or any other dubbing company could easily streamline that to make it more efficient. Gone are the days when the likes of Kyle LeBert would have to record an audition from underneath a bedsheet in a hotel from a convention.
Right.
I think ever since they introduced the Chaotica eyeball, that's been a really game-changing bit of kit for any roving voice actor. Yeah, I remember one time I was actually at a panel at an Irish convention. It was actually something that Mr. Sabat was doing, a voice acting thing. So he's like, oh, hey, so we're just like doing some like dubbing right here. Just come up to here, please.
I love that everybody, when they do a Sabat impression, they're like, oh, yeah.
It's like, I'm using this like Apogee mic and stuff. It's like really awesome.
Yeah, he recommended that one to me as well. Yeah.
But that mic, I've got that now in my like portable work, because I use that because I worked on an iMac, and on Macs and Apple stuff, it works fantastically. And you can get a version on Windows too. So if you want to like just like throw a microphone in your bag and know it's going to be very good, an Apogee mic. Not sponsored, by the way, yet.
Definitely recommend for mobile recording if you need to like record in a hotel room or anything like that on the fly. But right now there's no travel needs for that, so
Would you want this to be a thing that you continue to do once things have gone back to a relative normal? Do you miss that studio vibe?
I absolutely miss the studio vibe, and I'll tell you why. Because with this, well, one, I love people. And there's something about working in person with somebody, you can collaborate more with them. For this too, you're also spinning so many more plates while you're recording that it kind of can take away from the other side of your brain that is trying to you know, be creative and act, while simultaneously using your other side to operate all of this tech at the same time and monitor everything. So you're doing a lot to kind of make sure everything, because they're relying on your track and your equipment, because you're doing your own leveling and everything to make sure nothing peaks. And that the audio is unusable, because otherwise they'll have to get pickups later. So you have to make sure everything is like cohesively running, that your internet doesn't cut out, that it's a lot. I think it would open up the doors for more remote recording. Say if you're in Dallas and you're trying to work in LA more, or vice versa, you're going to a convention, you have to do a simuldub, but you're away for 2 weeks for like in Australia or something. I think that would create a semblance of able to continue working without getting a voice match. It opens up the doors for different things, I think, and the industry will change from it. However, I definitely think that studio recordings are the best way to kind of get a uniform sound as well.
It was really good to actually get a good insight about how it's been to be a voice actor in lockdown. But let's get to the voice acting itself as we now enter the main topic. Let's just get one thing real here. We know why you're here, Damon.
Why? It's Monaka, isn't it?
It's Borareta.
And basically voicing Nari Rama from basically two of the Universe 3 people. I just find it really funny that they actually big up Nari Rama. Oh, Nari Rama is the ultimate survival robot. And he sounds really cool because he goes like, nah.
He's a Nari Rama, Nari Rama. Yeah, that thing.
I will say that the dub for Magetta, from Universe 6, is just text to speech. It didn't quite sound right. Chugga, chugga, chug.
Oh, it was so funny. I remember because I had sat in with Raleigh Pickens, who's the ADR director, when he was figuring that out. And he's like, what do you think? And I was like, I kind of love this because it's not something you would normally hear.
It was indeed something I didn't expect to hear, but I was like, in a way, You could have easily just kept the Japanese one because it was just like, "Paw, paw, 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 paw." It sounded like a steam engine.
It was a very strange character.
It actually reminded me of this like cute little British cartoon named Ivor the Engine. It's this semi-sentient train, and then the driver's like, all right, come on, Ivor.
What's with you guys and sentient trains?
We like trains here, that's the thing. And my now father-in-law is a very big fan of trains, and basically this comes from the realms of Oliver Postgate, who is a classic British cartoonist. He did stuff, it was involved with the clangers and stuff like that. Bagpuss is basically this kind of like plush cat who again comes to life. His trademark thing is a
I would think it'd be a bagpipe or something. Like that's what I would infer.
Like with all of this stuff for like Universe 3, was it just basically, did you have free reign essentially for all of that, or were you just like told like you had a certain like guide?
I just tried something. I think Raleigh was just like, okay, let's listen to the because we'll listen to the Japanese beforehand before we do a scene. So really high pitched and shrill for Borareta. So I'm like Bora!
The whole idea of it is because when Super was actually the sub on Crunchyroll was going, I think we were just like this whole idea of like the idea of Koichi Areto when they actually fused together. This was already a very intriguing team, but Borareta was just this trouser robot. He's just a pair of pants with eyes.
Yeah. Trouser boiler, basically, and we loved him so much. Yeah, we loved him so much that we hyped him up, in some of the videos.
I've never had anybody discuss Borareta with me, so that's super funny.
It's just really fun, and it sounds like from the environment of working on Super, it just seems like really relaxed, and you're very engaging. Like you work with the ADR guys.
I think it's one of my favorite things I've worked on because Raleigh is so collaborative with you. Like it's a team effort together, and you can and he lets you try different things. And if you want to explore something or do something again, he's like super open to it. And it's just, we make jokes and it's just super fun, and I love it. And he takes really good care of you when you're screaming and everything. So it's just been like super. Super. Yeah, no, I really enjoy working on that and the Dragon Ball franchise with him and Stephen Hoff, who directs the video games.
Oh, yes, of course, because have you actually had a chance? Do you play Dragon Ball Legends?
I've played it a fair bit, not a lot, but like I was dabbling with it. It was funny when because I didn't do all of Frieza in that game, but I did Golden Frieza. So I did Golden Frieza and Full Power Frieza. It was funny because I was like, I want to get this, but it looks really rare. So my friend Alejandro Saab, he helped me get it on a stream with him. And I was like, can you be my sugar daddy, please?
We'll talk about the glory that is Monaka in a bit, but yeah, let's just dabble in that one character Frieza for a second.
Yes, just that one little one, yeah.
What was the procedure to actually be getting a chance to step up to the role? Because we all know that Chris has gone through a lot of surgery over the last few years. It was really, really nice to see them because it was at San Japan, and he was like be carrying around this huge tankard all the time. He just had this very relaxed personality, and just it seemed really nice and mellow, and he was always really sweet to us guys, the TFS guys.
He's a super, super sweet man, yeah.
Really ironic too, considering he voices Frieza.
Yeah, I know, it's so funny. He's just like the nicest guy, but he voices just this horrible villain, and it's super funny. Him and I are like really, really close, and we've I've been talking to him a lot through his whole journey through his illness. Thankfully, he's now on the mend because he got his double lung transplant. Because he had an end-stage COPD, and he needed the surgery to get better. But yeah, so for Frieza, as you know, he was very, very, very sick. So an audition went out for it was for Monaka, Hit, and Frieza, and I was like, wait. Frieza? Why Frieza? I didn't understand. I was like, what? Because I know Chris was voicing Frieza, and I was not aware of how sick he was. At the time, it was very bitter because I love the character and I love Chris's work and I love Dragon Ball. Like Dragon Ball is like a huge series for me. Like it helped define my interest in anime and voice acting growing up. So it was a big moment for me, but I was also just like really sad about it. So it was very conflicting, but I did the audition. I just tried my hand at it. and I get an email maybe a week or two later to asking me to come in to record it, and I was like, oh God. So I didn't know how to feel. It was very like I was also incredibly nervous because that's such a huge character to fill in for and try to live up to fans' expectations. I wasn't sure how much I was going to be doing at the time. It was kind of a case by case circumstance depending on when Chris could or could not work. So what I started with Dragon Ball Fighters. That was the first thing I did. I came in to record the first batch of it, which was like the fight efforts and the battle. That was like my very, very, very first session, was the battle dialogue and everything like that. And some time went by, and I came in next, I think maybe not too long later, I think a couple weeks later, to do some Super. And they had started recording a couple episodes, but Chris couldn't finish. So I covered for the rest of, I think it was episodes 26 and 27. And I think Chris re-recorded some of it. It was very like mixed hybrid. I wasn't sure if credits were going to go out or not for that. And then it did. And it was like, wait, what? It was very confusing for people. So I had to be like, okay, I'm not taking the role from Chris. I'm helping out with it. But it just became kind of more and more and more of it. So I did, I started doing more Dragon Ball Fighters. We had the massive story, because Frieza has his whole story arc, right? It was maybe like 20 hours of recording I had to do for that. In a week. And it was like, okay, I practiced a bunch. I listened to a lot of Chris's work. I just kept trying and dabbling with the voice, trying to make sure I could get it as close to Chris as possible, but also retaining a level of my own acting. Because there's only so much that I can do to keep it like Chris, but I act in a different way than he does, so it's not going to be a one-for-one exact replica of his voice. And I actually sit lower than he does in my register. He has a higher voice, so it's things like screams are a little harder for me to replicate. So I just kind of relented to making it my own.
I heard it for the first time in manga in Fighters, and it was like, wow, okay, this actually feels like a blend between Chris Ayres' Frieza and Martin's Frieza, from DBZA.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
It feels like somewhere in the middle. There's just that moments when you're just those human moments, just you're just kind of like those classic memes of Frieza just sat there thinking, just go oh, just those very human moments where Frieza actually just is having a conversation. So yeah, actually, so it does stand out.
Well, thank you. I mean, I've heard. I wasn't necessarily trying to copy Martin at all, but I have heard his Frieza before, and Linda Young, of course, too. I think she's fabulous. I was mainly trying to copy Chris's work, but I mean, I've heard so many that it's probably been a hybrid of influences on top of my own work.
Yeah. No, it's just my interpretation is all. So that's what I've taken from that.
Yeah, I feel like it's also changed though as the more I've done it, because that was a very early take on it, and I've kind of gotten more comfortable with those more, me kind of finding my footing with it. But when more close when I came back to recording it, when we started doing Super again, when Frieza came back, towards the start of the Tournament of Power, Chris had done the Broly movie right before that, but then he was going through, his health was going up and down, so they called me in to do it. And then that I had more. I think it had been over a year since I had done Fighters. Maybe a year and a half. So I'd had more time to kind of sit with it and think on how I wanted to perform it and practice it, because I had a feeling I would be doing more. So Frieza came back, and it was him meeting Goku in Hell and the Golden Frieza transformation and all that stuff. So I felt I got really strong there with that, and I'd kind of managed to make it my own there. And then I got more practice when I came back to do, I did Dragon Ball Z Kakarot as well. And that was not long after I started Super. I started doing that game in February of last year. It was quite a while before. It was probably close to a year before the game launched, because there was so much to record on that game. there was just so much dialogue, because not just for me, but for like Goku and Vegeta and Piccolo and Cell and Boo and everybody, that there was all these NPCs and poor Steven. Poor Steven. But he was a good sport. Him and Terry Doty worked together in the sessions. It was really fun. And that was my first time going through all of Frieza's original story with Namek and his different forms, because I had only done like Final and Golden up to that point. So I was able to kind of go through all of that, which was really fun. And I felt like that I was a lot more understanding of where the character was at in that game, in my own interpretation. So I'm really, really happy with how that went.
Yeah, no, it's perfect, really, especially for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, when it's it feels like a massive Dragon Ball encyclopedia. So for you to feel like comfortable for that game is definitely something to take pride in. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. What has been your favorite Frieza moment so far?
I loved different moments for different things. I loved Fighters because it was an original story and there wasn't really anything to kind of go off of it. So I kind of got to make it like my own thing. And there was a lot of humor with it too. So it wasn't like super, super serious Frieza. It was more comedic. And I love the dialogue and it was super fun. And then moments like when Frieza comes back from hell and he's in his golden form and he's fighting the assassins and Goku in that first instance, that one was super, super fun. We worked so hard on that episode in particular that I think we went through that episode maybe 3 times to try to fine tune it. Raleigh and I were going back and forth being like, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And for Kakarot, I mean, just the classic fight with Goku was just really cool to try my hand at. And that was usually for the video games, we don't see anything, right? So I don't know if a lot of people know this, is we will just have the script and we will do like an echo repeat of the Japanese dialogue. So the Japanese will play and then immediately after we will chase the line doing our take of it. And it needs to fit the timing of that line. So we're not seeing anything on the visual, right? So, I mean, if mouth movements look funny, it's because we're not seeing them. We just don't know. We're told to match the Japanese timing. For the Kakarot game, we actually were able to see some of the visuals, which was the first time for that. We had files for like a lot of the pre-rendered cutscenes. Just we weren't dubbing to it, but we were able to see like what was going on in that moment, like for tonality. I feel like that really helped for the emotional setting of it and trying to get those moments right. So things like the final moment of Frieza's you must die by my hand blast. I had seen his crazy expression he had there, and I was like, okay, I want to make this like just crazy. He's like losing his mind here, so I really wanted to make it like super psycho.
Yeah, and especially it must have been really good, especially in episode 95, because the animation in that episode with Frieza being absolutely vicious. Like, well, I mean, it was so as vicious as you can get for something that was airing in Japan on a Sunday morning instead of a Wednesday evening, which was with Z. So, the fact you couldn't show blood. Oh, I think I can count the number of times you see blood in Super on one hand.
Yeah, I don't see it very often, which is kind of... I wish they had more of it.
Well, because Dragon Ball Z aired originally in Japan in prime time, like around about like 6:30 in the evening. So, but now this is like in the 9 o'clock hour with One Piece, so it's at 9:30. So you can't really show that on, that slot, unfortunately. So it does lose some of the impact there, definitely. It must be really, really nice to be able to work with Chris in a way and be able to actually help him out throughout all that time. And we really do wish him a speedy recovery and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's doing a lot better now. Because he got his transplant and he's had some more surgery done. So I've Skyped with him throughout the quarantine and he's doing so much better. And I love that he's just doing... just completely. I actually saw him and Crystal not long before I think a month before the pandemic. I drove down to Houston for a one-day convention and we met up for dinner. I hadn't seen Chris in like 5 years and he looked so much better and he was walking around and just doing I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that you're doing better. And we have such a good relationship. Him, Linda and I are all friends and it's just lovely that we can just have that. There's no animosity or anything like that. And we're all like, we're just like this big Frieza family.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's so cool. I mean, I was at the first Khmer Con. I didn't get a chance to actually talk to Linda, but I was so happy to see her line absolutely buzzing with people. Like really just getting the chance to, because honestly, I would have loved to have heard her Frieza with uncensored dialogue. Go all out and that stuff. So it's unfortunate in that sense, but it's also fortunate that the fandom still loves her. And that's fantastic.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I think everybody loves each iteration of Frieza for different reasons. And I think I'm so incredibly honored to be, brought into that fold. I at first I didn't realize how much I was going to do, and I appreciate everybody's love and support throughout all of this, because I've been incredibly nervous to talk about it for a long time, because I didn't want to step on anybody's toes or Chris's or make, it was an interesting scenario. Like, I don't know, I wasn't sure how to handle it, and I'm a lot younger. And I'm newer to the anime industry, so it was a very, very big thing to kind of come my way as soon as I was starting, So I was like, I don't know how to handle this.
Of course, yeah. It's definitely something really nerve-wracking, considering it is Frieza, probably one of the most recognizable villains of all of anime in that sense. And just looking into that history, and incidentally, I actually do loads of what ifs on my channel. And we're actually tackling one of them, a Frieza one, which is what if Frieza turned good. I'll give you the cliff sheets, but if you want to in your own time, we've got like 7 parts on my channel. So, yeah. But essentially, it's like it takes them to the point when Frieza, is chopped in half. Goku basically says, give me a reason why I shouldn't kill you. Why should I help you? And then Frieza actually, in theory, helps him get to the ship. So, does all that stuff. And they fly out. And then Goku says, well, Freeza, I didn't actually expect you to help me. It says, yes, I've finally seen sense. As for you... But then he says the wrong thing to his father. His father thinks that he's basically bottled it, which means that he's no good anymore. And eventually he's cast out. So Frieza has to do his own thing, and he has to then kind of figure himself out as a drifter.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't sure where Frieza was going in like the Tournament of Power, because I was like, what is he doing? Because like it seemed like moments where he was kind of becoming like a Vegeta in that sense. But then I don't know, like he helps out, but then you see something like the Broly movie where it's like he's just like, nope, I'm still doing my thing,
He's actually acting more like King Cold than ever. Because if you think about it, when in Broly, he actually then blows up the Saiyans. He's probably only recently just been born. But now it's like 40 years in the future, he's finally reached maturity. Berry Blue is making all these quips about, it's because you're short, my lord. And then normally people say, oh, the old Frieza would just kill us. He goes, oh no, you're right, Berry Blue, you are correct.
It's our headcanon that Berry Blue is his caretaker or nanny.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure that's probably the case.
Oh, Nana, what should I ever do? Should I blow up this planet or should I blow up this planet? I can't decide, Nana.
I can't. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here.
And also the fact that he now appreciates after being beaten down by Broly for an hour and a half.
And he liked it. But
we need to talk about one more character before we... And that is, of course, Monaka.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, no, because there was a lot of things about Monaka, and we did a video about this on the channel about what might have been. He goes and does the thing, and obviously in comedic fashion, Monaka just... Because Hit's just like, I don't really want to be here, so... Oh, you got me. Oh.
Yeah.
It's just like that just having that. And then again in the Potofu arc where, oh, I broke something. Oops. But what we really wanted to have is that he actually is the strongest person in the universe, but it's something he can't handle. Just having that like struggle, because like Monaka is very interesting, but I feel like it would have been a really good like avenue to explore about what might have been had it been handled in one of those things where it's a character who doesn't want to be strong. Like, he's got this power, but hates it. He just wants a quiet life. He just wants to be a delivery boy. That's all he wants to be.
I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll do that eventually. Maybe they'll they'll unfold that or something. But like, I wasn't sure where he was gonna go because we not all of Super was out at the time when we were dubbing that, and it was just like, what's he gonna do? I was like, I don't know, because he was just like, I was like, okay, so he's like strong maybe, but I don't, he was just so pathetic. I remember like when we were doing like the really like the snivelly moments that Raleigh was just like, okay, that was good, but it needs to be more pathetic. Like you have to really feel sorry for him because he's just like more snot. I'm like, okay, you know, I have to make it sound really sad.
It's very weird, like how in these Toriyama moments where this kind of character can just like inspire like these moments of just like thinking, really? It's that kind of guy? It must have been really interesting being in that Potofu arc, those 3 episodes. And yeah, just like he must have been like, oh cool, we're getting a mini arc with Monaka in it. I wonder how he's gonna help.
Basically, and he was just like, it's funny because I was like, is he gonna fight? Is he gonna have some kind of power? No, he has like this mini stroke, it feels like, and is just there, just immobile for half the time. And I'm like, blessed bean. He's a good bean. He has a hard time.
When you were auditioning, was it basically the pitch was, oh, he's in Team Universe 7 for the Universe 6 tournament?
I mean, like, at the time when we auditioned, I think the sub was already out and I was able to look at it. And I had already watched it. So I was checking that out, and then they had a pretty lengthy description of like he's well, it's so funny too because at the time they weren't sure like which gender to cast. Like they were like, do we want to cast a male or a female for this because it's so weird? Look, he's like a weird character, so they weren't sure. So they had everybody audition like regardless of your gender. But I guess I just had this really pathetic kind of sounding guy.
He's a delivery boy wearing spandex. That's all he's there for.
Yeah.
And then he basically, Goku then is just, nice to meet you, punches him in the face. Just like...
It's so rude.
Rude. No, it's just that, and that's the thing. And then at the same time, at the end of that tournament, he gets this bounty of treasure for taking part in the thing. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, this is so nice. Well, back to the job. But it's, in a way, it's really cute that he actually just takes pride in like this job. He doesn't actually have to work in it. He just does it.
He's just happy to deliver stuff. He's like, yep, here's my ship. All right, I'm going out for the day. He's like, oh, I gotta make my rounds in the Milky Way today. He's so weird. He's so weird.
It reminds me of like, I don't know whether you remember Homestar Runner back in the day.
I don't. I've never seen it.
Oh, well, there was this thing called the Cheat Commandos, and they basically, it's like a parody of these 80s action figures type thing, and they've got all these really cool, like, 80s sounding characters like Gunhaver, Reinforcements, Foxface, and then there's Reynold, who's like the geek. Oh boy, everyone, it's gonna be absolutely rock on, yeah. Just that one guy who has these mediocre life, but at the same time is hurled into this world, which is basically you are watching people speaking the language of gods, and it's like, I wonder if I'm missing my shift. I hope my boss doesn't fire me.
Right.
Oh,
that's funny.
It's sweet. It's a shame that they've not done anything else with the guy.
I'm hoping that they bring him back later because I don't know when or if the show is going to start up again. I don't even know if they'll follow the manga what they're doing now, but I know they're on that character Moro.
We're definitely thinking that they will because it's our personal bet that they're waiting for that arc to end because during Dragon Ball Super, the Super manga and the anime were kind of off doing their own thing. They were following the same bullet points from Toriyama, and they were all like, the anime went their one way, the manga went the other way. Because have you read any of the manga at all?
I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I know what you're talking about. It kind of does its own thing in different areas.
Especially with the fact that basically they do Krillin even dirtier than the anime did. It's just a shame Monaka wasn't there to join them.
I know they mentioned him. They're like, because I think Goku is like, he was like, oh, why don't we get Monaka? And I was like, and Beerus is like, oh no, he's busy, he can't come.
Yeah, I love that. I love that whole thing about Beerus just doing that. Yeah, I think this is a good way to kind of round things off. So let's move on now to just a little bit of casual talk before we round off the podcast. So before we actually round things off, Damon, there's one more thing that I wish to talk about. And again, this is something that not a lot of people can say, but you are actually in something, a Netflix production.
Yes.
Dragonball is on there, but we're talking about Osmosis.
Oh, yeah. I am in that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something I just thought I'd like to touch upon because I was looking through all of your your IMDb stuff and all that kind of stuff, and it was like, oh, that's cool. It's a Netflix thing, and so I for those of you who don't know, Osmosis is like this. It's this French sci-fi drama, and it's about basically this dating app which is called Osmosis, which is the name of the show, and it's about like decoding true love. And I get this vibe, it's a little bit like Black Mirror in a way, so I get that vibe. And you play the character of Niels. How was that? I mean, how was it like, getting that gig potentially for Netflix?
That well, I've done a few shows for Netflix. That was a dubbing one for in LA. And I was just reached out by the director. He's like, "Hey, do you want to audition for this?" And I was like, "Well, sure, I'll try it. Why not?" And it was refreshing to do something that was more nuanced and live action based, rather than like this, because a lot of anime is very high energy, over the top stuff. But yeah, this one was really like emotionally charged, and he's going through a lot. And it touches on some really sensitive subjects. And he has to like deal with that in front of his parents, and I don't want to spoil too much of it, but he's got a really cool arc, and I really enjoyed going through it. And some other Netflix ones that I've done, I did Beastars. I know a lot of people are hyped about that one.
Of course.
Yeah, Beastars.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, no, we touched upon that earlier because you play Kai the Mongoose.
Kai the Mongoose, yes. He's very angry all the time, and he's just done with everybody. He's like, I want to be in the Actors Club, not behind stage.
Oh yes, of course, because my wife and I, we watched that, and it was just that moment of just like, just so like keen to be the actor or the thespian, and just being like, it reminds me of that one Simpsons episode with Ralph gets to play George Washington, and then this one guy is this kid who always gets the actor thing and basically gets to be like the guy who serves George Washington's chamber pot.
I love early Simpsons. It's so good.
Kai sort of reminds me of that.
That's so funny. Yeah, he's funny. I love the argument scene with Louie, and then Legoshi has to like intervene. It's really good. And he's just the kind of guy who's just like, eat the rich and like get out of my way.
Oh no, that's great. But yeah, listen, just like, thank you so much for joining us, Damon. It's actually been really good to kind of give us a
Thank you so much. It was super fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's brilliant. So just before we leave, give us like some little plugging details about where we can find you on the internet.
Sure. I have a Twitter, which I use the most. It's at Daman Mills, DamanMills. My Instagram is the same. I'm not on there as much, but I'm trying to get better about it. I have a TikTok, actually. I made a TikTok over quarantine, and it's been pretty funny that it got a lot of traction for one video. I was like, what? I don't understand. I didn't do anything.
Yeah, no, it works like that. It definitely works like that. Because I was like, I got this like one clip of it's like Gohan like, having a day off. It's like, this is great. It's a great day off.
That's amazing. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, no, just all these different like clips. It's like I'm always just there, flick. Oh, that sounds good. I'll save that one. I'll wait for the right moment. Because there's this one of like 1,000 years, and then Jacksepticeye says, "Thank you for being here." And it's just that moment of Android 17 walks off towards his boat, and I just like when like us going, "Thank you for being here," and he just like says, "Check you later." I'm going for my boat.
Oh my gosh. I'll have to check it out. Yeah. No, TikTok is insane. I love so many videos on there. They're so good. I just went down a spiral for a couple weeks. I was just like, I'm just scrolling endlessly.
Oh, it happens. It definitely happens.
Like, here I am.
You get yourself lost in there, and then you realize, oh, hey, Halo battery warning.
Yeah, right. And it would be, wake up in the morning and start scrolling until like noon, and I'm like, oh, wait. I'm like,
Oh man.
yeah, it's really good. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. I have a website, damonmillsvo.com, and yeah, and I have a fun announcement coming up this week. It's on my birthday, funnily enough. So I'll talk about it then.
Oh, so be sure to check out his social medias for that information, and we do wish you an early birthday wishes.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Absolutely. So once again, thank you all so much for listening to this special episode. We also thank Damon for joining us. If you have enjoyed the episode yourself, do rate and review in your respective countries and on your podcasting platforms of choice. It really does help the show out and getting it out there to any potential listeners. And also, if you want to become a caretaker of the Lookout and help contribute to the server costs, you can check out masako.cc/lookout for more information. But anyway, tune in next time, everybody, for another episode up on the Lookout. Ta-ra!